Let's see. Okay. It is Wednesday. Welcome to Unapologetically Keith every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9:30 to 10 o'clock. There we go. Unapologetically Keith Monday, Friday from 9:30 to 10 o'clock, where we cover stress, any type of crisis-like situations because I'm a specialist. Let me just turn this light on here so you can see me. There we go. So, as a crisis specialist, I use this platform to discuss different things that create crisis in individuals and relationships with children, whatever I think is pertinent to what is going on in the world today. So, thank you for joining me. A little housekeeping. We are streaming on Facebook Live, Periscope, and YouTube Live. So, the only way that I can see you is if you pop up in the chat room and let me know that you're there, and I will gladly acknowledge that you're there. Go on with the conversation. And so I want to thank everybody who tunes in. And if no one is tuned in right now, I'm going to speak as if I am talking to the whole world. That's what I do. Now, tonight we continue with part 2 of dealing with grief. But what we're going to look at today is we're going to talk about the emotional and physical symptoms of grief. Monday, we looked at we looked at how to deal with the grief process. We looked at 6 steps, 6 things you can do to deal with the grief process. What's up, Luck? How are you, my brother? Thank you for dropping by. So on Monday, we dealt with how to deal with the grieving process. We looked at 6 different ways to deal with the grieving process. So tonight, we're going to deal with 5 and 6 of the physical symptoms, because what I want to go over tonight, and if I need to go past 10 o'clock, I will. I want to deal, hey, what's going on, Flex? Thank you for stopping in. As always, appreciate the support, both of you brothers. And so what I want to look at tonight when dealing with the emotional and physical symptoms is that towards the end of Monday's conversation, we looked at the fact that when dealing with grief, it can turn into depression. And often the reason why that happens, because that got me thinking as I was recapping the show, what got me thinking was that often we don't pay attention to the physical or emotional signs of grief. And then that's how we wind up falling into a depression, because we don't deal with those symptoms. They get worse. And before you know it, we're in a much worse place than we were to begin with. So I'm going to get right into that. So again, this is what we're looking at in terms of the emotional symptoms of grief. Okay, that's what I want to go over right now. We're going to look at the emotional. Hey, Patty, welcome back. Good to see you tonight. Thank you for coming back and joining us. Shout out to Patty, who's tuning in from Periscope. We got Lucky and Flex, who's tuning in Facebook. So we're going to go right into the first one, the emotional symptoms of grief. Okay, this is number 1. Okay, here we go, guys, because we got to go through. And like I said, if I need to be on past 10 o'clock, I will, definitely, to engage you guys in conversation. So number 1 is shock and disbelief. Often, many who are dealing with grief are in a state of shock and disbelief. They literally do not believe what has happened, and their mind is not processing what has happened. And so when you see this, people tend to react to this negative, like, why are you acting like they don't exist? Or why are you acting like nothing's happened? Well, this is something to pay attention to. The person may still be in shock, and they still may have a strong disbelief of what was going on. So they have not been able to process what is going on. And it's very critical. And again, I want to say this, Lucky, Flex, Patty, is that what I'm looking at is that we talked about how grief can turn into depression. So at the end of Monday's show, when we talked about that, it made me start thinking. I said, we got to look at that, because if a person is stuck and they're in a state of shock and they're in a state of disbelief, you can actually start to see things slip into a state of depression simply because they do not want to acknowledge, they do not want to just give in to the idea that someone is lost or the pain of a situation. Okay, so that's number one, is the shock and the disbelief. Let me give you number two. Everybody understand that one there? Let's go on to number two. Put a two up in the chat room if you're following me. Let's go to number two. Let me see what I got here. Okay, where's number two? How my things move around here? What is going on here? There's number two. Okay. I was getting a little nervous there. There we go. Number two, sadness. Now, this is another one. Person can't seem. Thank you, Flex. Appreciate that. This is another one, another emotional symptom of grief. And again, please, please, if it is you, please pay attention. And if you're dealing with somebody, please pay attention to sadness. They just seem to be in a perpetual state of sadness. They seem to just be in an emotional state all day, every day. Now, yes, you heard me say on Monday that everybody's grief is uniquely their own, and it is. But when you start to see a prolonged sadness, when you start to see them unable to reach the other emotions, when they can't seem to find happiness, they can't seem to just get back to that neutral state that we talked about, that's when you got to start paying attention, and you might have to try to move in and try to help lift their spirits. You don't want to become overbearing. You don't want to become overwhelming, but you want to pay attention if a person is stuck in an ongoing circle of sadness, because that can, again, lead to depression. And again, my goal for tonight is to give you context to what to look for, because we want to be able to prevent someone that we love from falling into a state of depression and not being able to come out of it, and then now we've lost somebody else. And trust me, it is very difficult. It is very hard, but we want to pay attention because it is, it is definitely necessary. Okay? So again, I hope that resonates with everybody here. By all means, if you have any questions, anything you want to state, go ahead and throw it in the chat room. I will definitely read it out. So number three, give me a 3 in the chat room if you're ready to move on, because we got a lot to move on today. So pop into number 3. Let me know that you're still with me, and I'm gonna go ahead to the third one, because we got 5 that I decided to go with tonight. There's probably more, but this is just 5 that I wanted to go for tonight's show. And then we're gonna go to the physical symptoms after we finish the what's name. So we're gonna move on to the third one. Okay, number 3 is let me find it. Has so many tonight to put in. Okay, there we go. Guilt. Now this one here is a tough one. Thank you, Lex. This one here is a tough one. Is that the person starts to blame themselves. They start to feel guilty. You hear things like, I wish I could have did more. How come I wasn't able to save them? How come I wasn't there? And there may be some truth to what they're saying in terms of that. If they could have been there, maybe they could have did something. But in the end, if the loss has happened, we can't change the loss. But if the person cannot get past the guilt, it can start to create a very dark space in their lives. And it can start to pull them into an abyss that is very difficult to come out. And this right here, guilt, can pull them into a very negative situation where, again, depression is looming. And we want to prevent that. We want to be able to. Okay, I was just checking. I thought my little one's there. So we want to be able to pull them out of that situation. So again, part of the conversation that you want to have back is, it's not your fault. Reassurance is necessary. Not your fault. Listen, and then be honest. Listen, you weren't there. Don't worry about here now. Live. You want to try to focus on the right now. You want to focus on them. You want to focus on what they could be doing or what they can do. You want to focus on the positives. Try not to feed their negative disposition, because it could enhance their guilt and then make their situation worse. So you want to try to, and another thing too is if you're not prepared to deal with somebody going through these emotional symptoms, leave it alone, because you could be making it worse. You might want to refer, as we said on Monday, refer them to somebody that can help them. And this is where group counseling is great. One-on-one counseling is great. Your pastor, somebody, another friend, somebody that you believe that can handle it. Because if you start messing around with somebody's thoughts and somebody's feelings, it could end up very negative, and we want that to happen. Okay, moving on to number 4. You know what to do, guys. Throw that number 4 up. That's how I know who's still paying attention with me. I got Flex and Patty here in the house. I know Lucky was rocking with me for a little bit. Okay, here we go. Number 4. Where is it at here? I gotta find it. Number 4. Now this one comes up and will come up often. Anger. You will notice that a person just seems very angry, and they just seems very short, and they just don't seem like they can just find any type of peace. It just, the aggression is there. Ooh. Ooh, excuse me. It's been a long day. I can't believe that. I'm normally not this tired. Been busting my behind all day. But anger, number 4, anger. This one is tough because some people will have that anger, and the minute someone says something, they want to unleash it on them. This one here can get people into a lot of trouble. This can get them hurt, or they could end up hurting somebody else. And this one scares me a little bit because anytime you start to act aggressive to other folks, they're not, okay, got you. Thank you for sharing that, Patty. Patty said, ding, 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 that's still me. And Patty, I can understand your anger. What you shared with us on Monday is tough. I can't even start to say I understand. What I do understand is the emotions. I can't understand the individual emotion that a person may be feeling, but I do understand. T to the Y, what's going on? And Patty says, my fuse got real short. T to the Y said that was him. He was at number 4 too. Anger is natural. It is natural to be angry at the loss of someone that you love, and depending on how you lost them. And there's 2 different things at play here. Some people say, well, if it happens instantly, and some people say if it happens over time. Let me tell you something. No one actually wants to deal with loss. Now, there's some that can deal with it differently. Like some people like to say, listen, if they got taken away quickly, fine. Some people, it's the item slowly waste away, which I had to deal with my grandmother. With my mother, it was instant. So I had it on both sides. I had to, over time, watching my grandmother till eventually her first day in hospice. And my mother, it was just, I got a call, she was no longer with us. Because my daughter was diagnosed, died in only 34 days. Patty, I understand. My grandmother was diagnosed with liver cancer in late April. She passed on July 3rd. And it just moved so rapidly that it was difficult to watch her deterioration. And I remember when she got the word that it was cancer. And I remember she looked at me. We were in the hospital together, and she looked at me and said, "Cancer?" And I could see the fight kind of go out at that point. And the cancer moved so rapidly that body. The last time I seen her in the hospital, which was towards the end of June, I knew I wasn't going to see her alive again. And it happened, like, I think a week or 2 later. So, but I definitely thank you for sharing that, Patty. But anger is definitely that we go through, and I went through it. And with my mom, I wasn't angry. I just was disappointed that I was in Delaware and she was in New York, and that I couldn't be there with her more. And you never know, again, you never know when someone's not going to be here. So it's just the idea that she's no longer here. You know, I'm dealing, and I made peace with it simply because I realized there was nothing I could do. So I said, the only thing I can do now is live for her now and what I do and how I do it. So you guys ready for number 5? Give me number 5 in the chat room. So we got T to the Y, and you must add the Jones to it here. We got Patty here. We have Brother Flex was in the room and Brother Lucky's in the room. And listen, as long as I got one person, we're good. Throw a number 5 up so we can go to the last one of um, the emotional symptoms. Let me find that one here. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so the last one of the emotional ones that I chose, and this one is fear. Now, this one grips a lot of people because, so Patty says, my daughter also, last thing she said to me was, this brain tumor is not going to kill me. Wow. I so understand. You know, the last thing my grandmother said to me, Patty, I leaned over her bed, and she hadn't been really talking, and it was almost like she had lost her ability to speak. But that day, my wife and I were in the hospital with her, and I was leaving because I knew my sisters and everybody was coming. And I didn't feel like really dealing with a whole lot. And I was telling my wife, we're going to get ready to get out of here. So I said, let me lean over. And my grandmother kind of signaled to me to lean down. And when I leaned down, it was almost like she had gathered herself to speak to me because she really hadn't been talking up until that point. And when I leaned over, she said, it's on you now. I can't do this no more. You have to lead this family now. And then she said, you make sure you cling close to Tiffany, and God is going to bless you with a child. Now, Tiff and I had lost a child 8 years earlier, and we hadn't been able to have a baby up to that point. And I was like, okay, lady, I got you. And she said, you hear me? I said, I hear you. And then she called Tiffany over, and she said, you make sure you take good care of him because y'all going to have a baby. Y'all going to be okay. And I was like, okay, we're going to be okay, Grandma. And she was like, all right. And that was the last time I spoke to her. And then that was, like I said, the end of June, almost the end of June. And then she passed on the 3rd. Well, July 5th, 2 days later, is when we found out that we were pregnant with KL. So, yes, I teased that my grandmother got to heaven and demanded one more favor from God. And then sure enough, we found out that we were with child after having lost a child 8 years earlier. And I honestly believe that my daughter we named her after my grandmother, but I honestly believe the way my daughter acts like she's been here before, I think God gave a part of my grandmother to my daughter. So, and we named her after my grandmother as well. She's named after me, KL, but her middle name is Christina, named after my grandmother. So number 5 is fear. Thank you so much, Patty. I appreciate that. Number 5 is fear. Now, what happens is we get fearful because of how we see somebody that we love die, that we get fearful that the same could happen to us. We get fearful that we don't have much time on the planet. We get fearful that we're not going to be able to do the things that we want to do. If you ever notice that when somebody passes away, it's almost instinctual to go, what they pass of? How old were they? And we tend to gravitate to that because we're fearful. Hey, Stephanie, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Welcome. Welcome to Unapologetically Keith, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tonight, we're dealing with the second part of grieving. Monday was how to deal with the grieving process. Tonight, we're dealing with emotional symptoms of grief, and I'm about to start the physical symptoms of grief. But number 5 of the emotional symptoms is fear. And that fear is because when anybody that we love passes, our own human frailties comes to the forefront. We start to go, oh my God, they died at 60, I'm 70. My God, they died at 20, I'm 25, I'm 30. Oh, if they could go, what could happen to me? And all these emotions come through, and all this goes into what I was saying. So like number 1, shock and disbelief. Number 2, sadness. Number 3, guilt. Number 4, anger. Number 5, fear. And so, and this is what people deal with. And this is what you got to be prepared for when you're dealing with, even if you're dealing with it yourself, or if you're dealing with somebody else right now, or be prepared because listen, loss is something we all have to deal with. But just understand that these 5 right here are the 5 that I chose that I think most people deal with when dealing with loss. There's others probably. And I wasn't going to make the list too detailed, and I wasn't going to turn it into a college lecture. But these 5 right here, shock and disbelief, sadness, guilt, anger, and fear, is because not only have I seen those, I deal with those in my counseling. I deal with those when somebody says, Keith, somebody told me I need to talk to you. And I go, okay, tell me what happened. And they go, well, my son, my daughter, my mother, my father, my husband, my wife, and I just can't believe it. I don't, this is just, and I can tell that they're still in shock. Or I can see that they're super sad, or I can see the guilt, and they go, "It should have been me in that car. It should have been." And when you go through that cycle and you see it, my goal then has to be to try to get them to get their feet back on the ground, to be able to focus on the right here, right now, to bring them forward, to be able to say, "Let's figure this out." Because if we don't stop and cut those feelings and push those feelings and deal with those, it can turn into depression very quickly. And I think it was Patty that said on Monday that, that grief and depression are connected. They are, because grief can be the door opener to depression. And once it starts to move into a depression state, now you might require medication. We might require deeper help. Now we could be in an even worse place than we were when it was just grief. So I want you to go to understand that. Okay, guys, so now we're going to change gears a little bit. I'm going to stay on a little past 10 o'clock. I knew that I would. Now we're going to look at the physical symptoms of grief, okay? We're going to look at the physical symptoms of grief. I chose 6. Now, again, there's more. I just chose 6 that I think would resonate with most folks and what folks would recognize. Okay. So if you guys are ready, who's with me in the chat room? If you're ready, put ready or 1. I know that's a long to type, so just put a 1. Put a 1 in the chat room if you're with me and you're ready to move on. We have Stephanie that popped in. We have Patty that's here. T to the Y. Flex was in, and we had Lucky. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. If you're ready to move on to learn physical symptoms of grief, so we can start. Number 1, there are 6 that we're going to go over, and like I said, I plan on being on a little longer than 10. Patty says she's ready. That's all I need. Anybody else? Give me a 1 if you're ready, or just okay. So the number 1, the one that I chose for, here we go. Okay, fatigue. Here's what happens when dealing with grief. You just feel beat. You just feel like you just don't have any energy. You just feel like, my God, you feel empty, physically feeling empty. Your body literally does not feel like there's any energy. There's no gas in the tank. Thank you, T to the Y. There is no gas in the tank. Fatigue. It is real. So listen, guys, when the person you are dealing with says, I'm just so tired, I don't feel like it, don't tell them that's not true. Don't tell them it's all in their mind. It is not. Fatigue is a physical outcome of grief. It is a physical outcome of grief. Let me say that again. Fatigue is a physical outcome of grief. So when the person tells you they're tired, when the person tells you they just don't have the energy, they are not lying to you. It is not all in their head. It could be psychosomatic, but often we don't know. So you have to accept that they are fatigued. All right? It is a physical thing. And the reason why I say this is because often we want to project how we feel and what we think into somebody else. I just worked with a client just tonight, and they was explaining that how their significant other was projecting how he felt about something else and was saying, well, you can't feel that way because other people I know, and it was like, no, you can't do that. But when somebody tells you that they're just tired, they just don't feel like it, don't rough them off and say, oh, come on, get out of that bed. Just keep an eye on them. But now, if the fatigue is lasting too long, if we're getting into a couple of weeks now, and we're now getting into a couple of months, we got to be careful. We got to be very concerned because, again, if you start to slip off that slope into depression, that fatigue not only can turn into, it can turn into a whole lot. Now, I'm not a psychologist and I don't play one on television, but I am a therapist. And what I know is that once something has gotten away from me and above my pay grade, I have no problem with telling somebody you need to go to the next level because medication might be needed. I can't issue medication. I can write treatment plans and things like that, but I cannot prescribe medication. I don't even think I'd want to right now in the country. So if you're ready for number two, let's move on to number two. If you're ready for number two up in the chat room. We're going to go forward with number two. All right. Nausea. If you see that a person can't seem to hold down their food, if a person seems to keep vomiting or they just seem sick and they just complain about an upset stomach, stop or do not say it is just in your head. It is more than that. This is a physical symptom. And again, I chose these because I want you to understand that when you see this and when you hear this, understand that you may be dealing, and a person, hey, Kira, welcome, welcome. There's lovely Kira popped in. And understand that a person may be going through multiple of these at the same time. They may be going through emotional and physical symptoms at the same time. So they may be telling you that they're in shock and disbelief while still getting nauseous and fatigued. And it is on us to try to get them help. It is on us to try to get them to be able to settle down, get them some antacids, get them some help, sit with them, do whatever you got to do. Kira said, good evening, everybody. I'll pop that up real quick. Kira said, good evening, everybody. So it is very, very important that we pay attention to that because, again, when we know better, we do better. Because here's a person sitting around and they can't hold food down and we're telling them it's in their head. No, it's not in their head. That acid is coming back up through their esophagus. Or their stomach is so upset that they can't hold anything down, because it's very important that they eat because they still got to keep up their energy. So imagine you're suffering from fatigue and now you have nausea. Come on. So again, I hope that this resonates with anybody. If you're with me in the chat room, so we can move on to the third one. And I think this one is very good thing that we're dealing with right now. So again, if you just tuned in, you're tuning into Unapologetically Keith every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9:30 to 10 o'clock. I will stay on some nights after 10 o'clock if the chat room is up there and we're talking, or I believe the subject requires more time than a half an hour. Tonight we are dealing with part two of how to deal with grief. We're dealing with the emotional and physical symptoms of grief. We talked about the 5 emotional symptoms: shock and disbelief, sadness, and fear. We're now heading on to number 3 of the physical symptoms of grief, and there's a number 3 from Patty. I appreciate you. Okay, number 3. And this one is interesting. And I added this one because I thought you should really see this one, guys. Lowered immunity. Now, when I used to teach health, and I was a health teacher in New York City, I spent 22 years in New York City Education, Department of Education, teaching as well as a dean of students. And when I taught health, I would try to explain that our emotions as well as our physical being is connected to our immune system. So when you don't eat, or when you have a poor physical disposition, it affects your immune system. So think about this right now of the people who are grieving right now during this COVID crisis. If they're lowering their immune system because of their grief, they're actually placing themselves in a position to get this virus and not be able to fight it off. Because if they're unable to get themselves balanced or get back to neutral, they're literally lowering their defense mechanism against this virus that's out here that's attacking the body. And please understand that this should also open up the door for other viruses, the flu, pneumonia, many other things out there. Hey, Kim, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Glad to stop in. Kim said, good evening, everyone. I will show everyone. I love when people say hello to everybody because I don't know. I think they can all see it. Actually, you guys are on Facebook, so Patty can see it. It says, good evening, everybody. But lowered immune system. And again, I chose this one because I don't think people pay attention to it. And I know my students didn't. My students didn't believe it. That's why and believe it or not, stress lowers your immune system. If you're sitting around stressing, thank you, Kara, I appreciate that. If you're sitting around stressing, she said this is good information. If you're sitting around stressing, you're lowering your immune system. And I know that's hard right now during these COVID times. But the reason why I come on every day and put up some type of message on Instagram, and then I put it over on Facebook, is that I'm trying to keep people calm. I am showing up every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on Unapologetically Keith, and I show up on my Instagram page and on my Facebook page, trying to keep people calm, because I understand that quality mental health is needed right now during this COVID situation and the racial tensions that we have in the country, as well as physical health. Yes, I'm working at myself. I don't want to, but I'm a big guy. I have to, because as a guy, I am in one of those risk groups that COVID could attack. COVID is attacking people of size, and definitely attacking people of size and people of color. So it is definitely something you got to pay attention to. But the one thing I will not do is allow stress to affect me in such a way. I check my blood pressure, and my blood pressure stays about 130/80 right there, because I'm not allowing stress to take me out. No, I'm not allowing COVID to take me out. That's why I'm here in the house for week 22, 23, whatever it is. But yes, guys, if you're dealing with grief and you are unable to get it, yes, you must definitely show up on. Thank you, Kim. Kim says, we appreciate you. And Kara said, yes, you most definitely show up on every platform. Thank you, you guys. I'm trying. I really am. That's what Braven Consulting is. That's what Braven Publishing is that I'm trying to give back. I'm trying to make this my personal mission, because God saved me from a life, Lord saved me from. And so it's my job to try to give back to my brothers and sisters in any way possible. So I definitely thank you. I appreciate you too. Thank you, Kira. I appreciate that. So now I got one for you that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Put up a number 4 if you're interested in knowing what number 4 is, because this one was as interesting to me that I thought would be interesting, you guys, with the lowered immunity. Put up a number 4 if you're interested in knowing what number 4 is, because this one you got to pay attention to, because you might think it's a good thing or bad thing and realize that it's not. Let me just put that one up here. Here we go. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, what is going on here? Oh, there it is. 4. Where's number 4? Oh, there it is. Okay, it was way up there. All right, because the captions changed place. Thank you, Flex. Appreciate that. Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Patty. Weight loss and weight gain. Now, hear me out. You may think the losing of weight is a good thing, and you go, hey, I done lost 10, 15 pounds. Hold on a second. Now, did you lose that because you just aren't eating? Because you're in the fit of grief? Did you gain weight because of grief, and now you've again put yourself in a position where your immune system has been lowered? Because understand that sudden weight loss and sudden weight gain is a sign of something wrong, because weight loss should always be gradual. Now, if you're a smaller person and trying to get bigger, weight gain should be gradual. It should be a pound a week, if you're a pound to 2 if you're trying to lose weight, and the same with gaining weight, because the body has to adjust to what you want it to do. So if you all of a sudden are 10 or 15 pounds down and you're thinking, hey, look at this, I lost weight. Oh, hold on a second. What's going on? Also, guys, that is a great thing for you to pay attention to when you know somebody is going through grief. All of a sudden, they look like something's not right. Hey, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Are you eating? I get in where I can. Pay attention to that, because sudden weight gain and sudden weight loss can affect the immune system, and it can trigger stroke and heart attack, because you are applying too much pressure to the internal systems. And you can actually have a massive coronary because of the pressure that you are putting on your heart. Lisa says, thank you for talking about this. That was my program is about. I'm an intuitive grief coach. Thank you for stopping by, Lisa. The only problem I have with that is I would have held off on the website simply because we're just meeting. I'm not a big fan of folks promoting that I don't know, but thank you for popping through. I appreciate you. But we could have talked about that after the show was over. But thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you. And welcome to the show. Welcome to Unapologetically Keith. Patty says, I felt like I deserved to eat what I wanted. Wrong. Well, that's another thing, too. That's where the weight gain comes, Patty. And Lisa, thank you for stopping. Thank you for taking about this. Okay. And so this is what's very important, because people will start to have the I don't care attitude. and they will start to eat whatever and feel, why can't I? And you'll start to hear the YOLO, you only live once, or listen, we're all going to die. And they'll start to try to wrap around emotionally around what they do physically, which then opens up the door to some things that we really don't to see. And that's where you'll have the rapid weight gain or the rapid weight loss. And you got to pay attention to that, especially if you're trying to help somebody who's dealing with grief. Now, if you're the person dealing with it, sometimes you got to try to put the brakes on if you can, or you need to listen to the people that you love, your support system, if you have one. If you don't, then you want to look up professionals like myself and others to be able to get the help that you do. Now, I believe, there you go. Thank you, Kara. And the reason why is because there are people out here who can help you, but they cannot help you if you don't first allow them to. Like me, when people say, could you talk to my husband? Could you talk to my wife? Could you talk to my son? Of course I could. Do they want to talk to me? Now, I'm not talking to anybody who don't want to talk to me, because this is something that you can't force. No problem, Lisa. I believe that you were referred by Stephanie. So I just thought about that when I saw her tag you earlier. It's okay. I'm not gonna lie, that is a pet peeve of mine, especially if it's somebody I don't know. It's like you just came in and just threw your stuff out there. But again, I appreciate the apology. It's no problem. Welcome. Glad that you're here. And it's no problem. Listen, I'm an easygoing person. At the end of the day, the people that are here for me are going to be here for me. And if they jump off, want to do something else, we can all eat. There's a lot of room at the top to take as many people as I can with me. So yeah, it is a pet peeve, but apology accepted. We're good. Glad to see you here. And I hope that you'll come back on other nights and share. And by all means, share on this subject too, because other people can see what you're posting on Facebook. Patty can't see you, but I'll definitely, if you put something up, I'll definitely, so people can see it, because that's part of this too. I'm here for the chat parts too, because you guys actually make it fun for me when I see you guys. I love reading what you guys put in the chat room. But to the weight loss and weight gain guy, please pay attention to that, especially in yourself, because we get on a scale and go, oh my God, I'm down 20 pounds. If you know you haven't worked out and you know you haven't done the things that you're supposed to do, please pay attention to that. So Patty says, I have had 3 rounds of treatment. This COVID has got all stirred up with the stress. Yes. COVID is a very, very dangerous thing for this reason. It is an invisible monster that attacks the lungs. And it's like what I used to explain to kids, like, okay, let me a little bit of transparency. I have a master's degree in education. I have a master's degree in human service counseling, but I also have a bachelor's degree in physical and health education, and I have an associate's degree in business. But in the classroom, when I was teaching health, one of the things that I used to try to explain to kids is that, like with HIV, if you and your significant other do not have it, and y'all don't expose yourselves to anybody else who has HIV, you cannot get it. You're good. So if you get tested and you're both negative, you can hump like bunnies. Of course, that was before I was a man of God. Now I would tell them wait till they get married. But the truth is still the truth. But like with this, and the same thing I taught during the HIV crisis, I was dealing with HIV. I dealt with Ebola. In teaching about Ebola, I dealt with the West Nile, and we had to deal with the swine flu as well. And I actually had the swine flu. I was sick for 10 days with that rhinovirus. And during the New York City time, they were basically telling teachers to stay home. And it started at one school, and my God, it ripped through the city. And one of our teachers had a child at the school down the block from the school that got sick. And before we knew it, 9 teachers were out, and the numbers around New York City were down. But eventually they got a handle on it. You were able to ride it out. Medications worked. After 10 days, I was fine. But for those 10 days, it was rough. With COVID, it is different. We know that COVID is an organic, and we don't know, not say organic. It is a novice virus, because we don't have there's no information on it. There's nothing that we go on. There's no vaccine. There's no cure. So when something has a cure, best thing you can do is stay away from it. Best you can do is make sure it don't enter your body in any form or fashion, because no doctor on this planet can tell you with any certainty what's going. They have nothing that can treat it. So your best bet is stay away from it. So if you got to stay in the house like I am, I have been in the house. I have only been out the house maybe 11, 12 times in 20 weeks or something like that, whatever it is now. I have been in this house since the second week of March. This is the last time I did any face-to-face counseling. I have been in this house, other than Walgreens, the post office, and some things like that. So about 13 times I've been out this house in like 20 whatever weeks, because I don't want to come anywhere near this virus. My wife is an essential employee because she's a human resource supervisor, and she has to go to the back door, strip off her clothes, throw them right into the laundry. She goes right into the bathroom and showers before she get engaged with my daughter and I, because we're not taking any chances. I go to Instacart. We wipe down everything, and that's just what I'm doing to make sure I don't come in contact with this virus, because it is dangerous, guys. It is dangerous because there is no blueprint. There's no book. There's nothing. And when there's nothing, I'm not leaving my life to the medical profession. I trust them. I trust my doctor. I just don't want to leave it in their hands. I want to do what I can. Okay, let's get back on track. We got two more. That was number 4, weight gain and weight loss. So if you're ready for number 5, if you're with me, give me another 5. Let's get back to where we need to be at. I think this one is interesting too. Give me another 5, because we have Lisa's in the house. Patty's here. We got Kira's here. We had Kim. I know I saw Kim somewhere. Flex is here. T to the Y is here. And Lucky was here. Stephanie was also here. I think I missed Stephanie the last time. I apologize if I did. But let me get a number 5 as we move on to the next. Like I said, I was planning on being here after. I knew I wasn't going to be able to do this in a half an hour. Not at all. Okay. So moving on. Aches and pains. Thank you. Kira gave it a 5, and Patty and Lisa. Aches and pains. Guys, this one right here is the one that flies under the radar. This one right here flies under the radar. You say, how are you doing? I'm okay. I got a little aches, pains, but I'm all right. No, you are not all right. The question should be, do you normally get aches and pains? What do you mean? Are you normally have aches and pains? Listen, how long have you been having these aches and pains? Well, since so-and-so passed, since the thing happened, just my head, my shoulder, my back, just my stomach, and just, I'm be okay. Pay attention to that. Probe if you can, but be careful. Don't want to push them. Pay attention to that. Aches and pains are a sign of a physical symptom of grief. Those aches and pains can cause somebody to self-medicate. And then they start self-medicating, so the Aleve goes from 1 or 2 pills to 3 or 4 pills, and all of a sudden now, those aches and pains, it become more, they increase. And all of a sudden now, so do the drugs, or so do the use of other things. So now we're drinking more, or we smoking more, or now we moved up to Vicodin, or we moved up to Oxy, because we want just the aches and pains to go away, and we just, oh my God, how long I got to deal with this? And again, stop. Don't ever tell somebody it's just in their mind. Remember what I said on Monday. Everybody's way of grieving is unique to them. Put together what I went on Monday with today, and you'll see it'll start to make sense. Aches and pains is a sign of, is a physical symptom of grief. Some people may not know that, because most people, especially folks of color, are used to saying, I'm all right. We're expected to be superhuman. Don't do that. Don't be that. Don't allow if you're hurt, admit it, say it. If you need help, get help. Okay? If you gotta, like now, self-medicating, yes, it happened. But here's the thing, we self-medicate the wrong way. Self-medication is getting in the tub, turning on the hot water, dropping in your favorite crystals, and just relaxing and allowing yourself to take a deep breath. Self-medicating is putting on sounds of the ocean or rain before you lay down, and just to calm yourself down. Self-medicating is praying. Praise the Lord. Self-medicating is saying, Lord, please, I'm going to give this to you because I'm tired and I'm hurting and I'm just feeling horrible. And only you know why you created this situation. So I'm going to leave it with you. And then you fight your way back to feeling like yourself. Are you ever going to be the same? Probably not. That doesn't mean that the grief has to be so overwhelming that you can't be you again. We're all going to hurt for the people that we lose. But that does not mean that we have to lose you in the process, or you have to lose somebody else. So I'm just saying there's many other ways to self-medicate that, believe it or not, we would not be considered medication, but are actually ways to be able to help you get through. Meditation is a great one. I use the word. I'm a man of God, so of course I'm gonna sit. They may not be the only. That may be the only good self medicine. Well, there's again, it's medicine is an interesting thing because often we automatically apply medicine, other things like that. There's holistic ways of dealing with physical ailments. There's holistic ways of dealing with emotional ailments. We tend not to use them because Western medication, meaning medication in this part of the hemisphere of the world, the Western hemisphere, we tend to automatically go to pills and elixirs and things like that. But we tend to forget the power of prayer. We forget the power of our faith. We forget the power of just being able to settle the body down. We forget the power of breathing. What is Lamaze? Lamaze is a woman learning how to use her breathing to help her give birth to a child. Now, men, we will never know what that pain is. I am not trying to find out what that pain is, but I do know that Lamaze works. I went through a Lamaze class with my ex-wife. She threw all that out the window as the pain. She threw all that out the window as the pain started and was like, give me the epidural. I'm mad at her because the way she was acting, I was ready to go get the epidural myself and be like, listen, you're not going to sit here and treat me like this. But again, we tend to forget that there are organic ways. We tend to forget that there are other things. And you will see all the time, my hashtag is we can fix this. I say it all the time in all my videos. I believe God has given us everything that we need to be able to fix the problems that we have. But it's often we don't turn to each other to fix the things that are wrong. I honestly believe that. So last one, all right? Put in the chat room, last one, or I'm ready. Last one, or I'm ready. Put it in the chat room, and I'm going to give you the last one of the physical symptoms and then I'll go through any questions. I'll gladly have conversations with you guys because I'm here till at least 10:30. I'm not going to go more than an hour. It's not fair to you guys, and I don't want to do that. So last one, or I'm ready. Let's go. Last one of the physical symptoms of grief. We did with the emotional symptoms of grief, which is shock and disbelief, sadness, guilt, anger, and fear. Physical symptoms are fatigue, nausea, lowered immunity, weight loss and weight gain, aches and pains. And I'm going to give you the last one. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Kira says she's ready. Lisa says she's ready. Patty says she's ready. Kira says she's ready. And Kim says she's ready by saying last one, or I'm ready. Okay, here we go. And this one might be very easy. You might have known, you might have seen this. Insomnia. Listen, guys, the easiest way to destroy your immune system is to get no sleep. The easiest way to start self-medicating is to get no sleep. The easiest way to lose weight and to gain weight is to get no sleep. The easiest way to feel nauseous and fatigue and to have aches and pains is to have insomnia. When you can't go to sleep, the things that you will do when you are physically tired and emotionally tired, but yet you just can't get your body to shut down, is dangerous. Aneurysms, heart attacks, strokes. If you can't get your body to shut down, to sleep, and to get yourself to rest, the first year I survived on 3 hours sleep. God bless you. God bless you, Patty. Patty said the first year of dealing with the loss of her daughter. And if you guys can't see, because Patty's on Periscope, the rest of y'all are on Facebook. Patty lost her daughter. Was it 2004, Patty? I think you said on Monday, 2004. So Patty said her first year, she survived on 3 hours sleep. Let me explain something to you. The reason why I chose this one as the last one is because, as I just mentioned, I believe that insomnia opens up the door to all of the other physical symptoms of grief and can open up the door to some very dangerous things within the human body when you cannot go to sleep. First of all, you're walking around in a daze. Okay, it was 2004. Thank you, Patty. You're walking around in a daze, so you're not sharp. You could harm yourself if just trying to cook. If you try to drive, it's like driving drunk. You make poor decisions when you haven't had any sleep. Your self-worth is not where it should be. Just everything is off kilter when you do not get enough sleep. So if you notice that a friend or family member is not getting enough sleep, you got to step in. You got to, I don't care what you got to do. And I know this is going to sound crazy. And you may go, ain't nobody thinking about sex when they didn't. Listen, if you have a significant other and it is not your significant other that you lost, intimacy is a way to help you go to sleep. It is also a way to relax the aches and pains. It's also a way to help with nausea because the body gives off chemicals upon ejaculation that causes the body to relax. Patty says she had a mild heart attack and went into instant menopause the first year also. So there's the proof right there. Thank you for sharing, Patty. I appreciate you for being so transparent. And that's what I'm talking about. Lack of sleep. Now, Patty says she was already dealing with anger, and then to have 3 hours of sleep. And so let me just bring that up so people can see it, because that's along the lines of what I'm talking about. Is, guys, that when you have lack of sleep, as you see that Patty shared with us, it can open up the door to aneurysms, heart attack, or stroke. And in this case, it triggered her menopause. Because again, you're throwing the body completely off. When you do not get enough sleep, it is bad all the way around. Everything is affected. And all of you know what I'm talking about, what that feels like when you pulled an all-nighter and then have to go to work or just be up, sitting around with a dizzy look on your face. You can't. As when you see the videos of somebody at work and they just, yeah, I'm good. And you can barely keep your eyes open. If you do that too long, you're putting pressure on your heart. You're putting pressure on your internal organ. It is not good. Okay? It is not. So let me go back over these again. Tonight, the emotional symptoms of grief, shock and disbelief, sadness, guilt, anger, and fear. Physical symptoms of grief, fatigue, nausea, lowered immunity, weight loss and weight gain, aches and pains, and a biggie, insomnia. All right, guys, I got about 6 or 7 minutes before I get ready to jump off. So I would love to, any questions that you have or anything that you want to bring to the table, I would gladly love to listen. And I just want to say thank you. Let me just go back through. Patty, I want to say thank you for joining us again today on Wednesday. And on Friday, hold on a second, let me just go over this here. Friday, we're going to deal with the 5 stages of grief, Kubler-Ross chart. But I'm also going to show you how you can use that, especially if you're in the educational field. But the Kubler-Ross chart, the 5 stages of grief, we're going to talk about that because it is what you have to understand when you're working somebody through it. A lot of people get stuck in the earlier stages. So I'm going to walk you through that because I literally used that when I was a dean in New York City schools, is that I understood this chart of grief. It's also something that you'll see when you're dealing with kids too, but I'll go through that on Friday. So Friday is the 5 stages of grief, and it's not nothing that you can't go search yourself, but I'll just put my spin on it and be able to share it with you. But if you have anything that you want to bring to the table, by all means, say it now in the chat room. I'm here for a couple more minutes for you guys. I'm going to hang out for a little bit. In about 5 or 6 minutes, I'm going to jump off. But also I want to share this with you too, why you guys are figuring out what you're going to do. If anything that I said tonight and you feel like, you know what, I need to talk to somebody because I think I'm dealing with this. Here we go. This is the way that you can reach me. Let's see. Patty said, this is a wonderful refresher. I appreciate hearing you so much. Thank you, Patty. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I always love the compliments. I'm trying hard. And also, if you find me on Instagram, Patty, I'm Keith KL Belvin on Instagram. I post a video every day. And I share it on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Keith KL Belvin as well. And I simply try to just bring something to the table every day. I've written books, and my books are all designed to help, from poetry to fiction to nonfiction. I'll put my website up if you are interested. But my books as well, which I've had conversations on those, from Gigolo to Jesus. That is my memoir right here. That is actually me telling my story of how I went from being a misogynistic whore to a loving husband and man of God. So I wanted people to understand what that transition looked like. There's my website if you guys are interested. Also, I have a book on relationships, which is Our Bond is Our Gift, where I took a lot of the videos like this one and turned it into a book. I have inspirational fiction, Lukewarm Saint, and then I have poetry, as well as I have some other anthologies that I've been a part of. I use everything that I write, everything that I create to try to help others. I'm also a mentor. I run a mentor program, which I have tomorrow from 12:30 to 1:30 at the local detention center. I have 10 young men that I am trying to help who have been incarcerated. So I'm trying to help. Definitely stop by my website, Patty. You'll see all my books, and there's descriptions to all my books there. But if you are interested, on the screen right there also is my if you're interested in private coaching, that is the other thing that I do. I have my own, I now officially have my own LLC here in Delaware. So Braven Consulting is real. Consultants is real. And so I was already coaching, but this is what I do, and I counsel. And I'm here to help people who need it. I listen, and I try to create a way out of whatever you're dealing with. I am a crisis specialist. What is a crisis specialist? That is somebody who is specialized in how to help you move out of a negative situation. I'm honest with you. Yes, I'm going to be hard at times in terms of just being real, but the truth is only going to hurt for a little bit because it's still the truth. And nothing will hurt more than if I lied to you. And I'm not going to lie to you, but the truth is the truth. And I'm going to stand there with you on it, and I'm going to help push you forward. I tell kids, and as I tell other adults, the rock is on the rock off, but I can help you carry it up the mountain. I can promise you this: as you get up the mountain, the rock gets smaller, but you have to be willing to take the journey first. The rock is going to seem heavy and massive at the base, but as you push yourself forward and it seems like it's getting harder, the rock is actually getting smaller. And by the time you get to where you need to be at, you go, my God, look at where I've come from. And then you realize that the rock is not there. But my job is to help you see that. And I can hold it up for you for a little bit. And I can nudge in and keep my shoulder there to give you a chance to take a deep breath. But you got to put the work in. You got to take the steps. I'll walk with you. And I'll coach you. And I'll help you. And I'll give you information. I'll be honest with you. It's the best that I can do. Thank you, Patty. I appreciate that. So I do try to paint those pictures. This is what I do when I was in the classroom. But again, guys, I want to say to all of you, thank you so much. It is a blessing to be able to come on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make sure you tune in Friday, the same time, 9:30 to 10 o'clock, but I will go longer. I'm thinking about going to 10:30, but I didn't want to commit to that time until I know if people are going to show up. So I may eventually just make sure an hour, but right now it's from 9:30 to 10. If things are dragging, then I'll go ahead and shut it down at 10 o'clock and we'll just come back on. But I'm showing up 3 days a week on this platform in terms of what I do here, but I'm every day. I have something to say every day. I try to do it in the morning so folks can have it throughout the day, or when God places on my spirit to put it out, then I put it out and we go from there. But again, please reach out. If you're on Facebook, make sure that you like this and share this. Remember, if you share it, to let somebody know why you're sharing it so they don't just gloss by it. Patty, you should be wearing your arm out, giving hearts there on Periscope. Just beat that screen until you see those hearts go up. Steady stream of hearts would be great. That's how I know that you're digging the content. And if you're watching on replay, or if you want to come back and watch it on replay and give hearts, you can do that too. Because again, guys, the best way that you can help me is not just the support of buying the books or setting up counseling, letting other people know what I do. Introduce them, say, hey, Kim, I think it was pleasure to meet you tonight. Kim, I think it was Stephanie that referred you, so I appreciate that. But let me just go through and say thank you to everybody as I always do. Patty, thank you so much for showing up. Kim, thank you so much for showing up. Kira, thank you so much. Lisa, it was a pleasure to meet you tonight. I hope that I'll see you again. And Lisa, reach out to me, and I got your information, but reach out to my inbox with your information. Maybe we can coordinate something. I would love to network with you because this is what I do, and I would love to hear some of the things that you do because I would love to find out what other folks are doing. We can only help each other grow. So I said, Kira, Kim, I got you. T to the Y, my man, appreciate you as always. Flex, appreciate you as always. Stephanie, thank you for coming in. And Lucky, if you're still there, thank you for coming in tonight. I want to say I appreciate all of you for taking the time out and being there for me. It's 10:30. So again, I'm going to jump off, and I just want to say God bless. I want to say, oh, let me leave my hashtag here. Can't do that without putting up my hashtag. And again, oh, did I? Yes, I did. I put my hashtag down. Oh, there we go. All right. So when you see this, when I say, remember, we can fix this, as I said earlier, I honestly believe that everything that we need to fix the problems that we have, God has already given us, even with this COVID situation. But we have to be willing to help each other. If we can acknowledge that we can fix each other, that we can help each other, not only can we cure some of the problems that we see in the world today, we can actually create new situations that will actually save lives. But I know it sounds a little Pollyannic, but believe it or not, I believe that. All right. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be in front of you. I'm glad the Lord has blessed me with that opportunity. Please reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. Any feedback that you have would be appreciated. And again, make sure that you stop by my website or set up a free call with me. The call is free. Set it up and let's talk about how I can help you. And if not you, somebody that's close to you. This is what I'm here for. Have a good night, guys. God bless.